All right. So, Tati, Walmart, in a pretty casual way, slipped into a press release, I think it was last week, some pretty significant success that they've had in the way that they've tangibly deployed AI agents in an autonomous, proper manner to create a whole lot of value in somewhat discrete and specific workflows and so on and so forth. But what caught my attention, in part, is that they're essentially describing that they're taking the next step, which is to create, think of it as, in traditional org chart terms, a management layer, right? So now they're creating AI agents that play the role and function of orchestration and of leadership of these various discrete, independent, and almost like individual contributor AI agents. And they're doing so because they're so confident in the value that their existing, AI agents have been able to create at scale, that they clearly fit inside of this, 1 to 3% that are doing this at scale. And this is obviously going to be something that is going to have a direct impact on the bottom line across many different, metrics, which I'm sure we're going to start to hear in their quarterly earnings, which I know you've got thoughts. What do you think in general this could do to impact other retailers to start to realize, oh my gosh, if Walmart is starting to figure this out, not just discrete individual AI agents, but stepping into multi-agent orchestration and leadership and so on and so forth, how could this potentially start to impact the retail space, especially those that are maybe a little flat-footed or a little confused, a little not moving on this stuff just yet?
Now, I love this story because the first thing tying to our last episode, that 3% that's deploying agents at scale, they have the strategic lead, and they're
Yes.
not in pilot purgatory. They're actually making this happen, and I love how this is such a easy to understand and a simple example of how the simplicity of what this brings is tied to direct gains, right? So Walmart is, they have the 4 core super agents that they
Yep.
built, which is really interesting. They have the Sparky, the Marty, the developers, so it's internal teams, employees, customers, and sellers and suppliers. So they figured, again, super simple. Every retailer has that, right? So the Sparky is already operational. The one that's the customer facing one is already operational in the app, in the Walmart app, and is doing product advice, is doing summaries, is handling automated orders, is event planning, and it's even doing those recipe suggestions in the
Yep.
fridges,
Yep.
uh, using the computer vision. So again, very simple to understand. I don't need to go on here to a retailer or to any consumer businesses how much value that adds
Yes.
just alone by being able to enhance and automate those tasks. So they each have a focus. I thought it was really interesting that they also hired a few folks in their leadership team to support this, right?
Yep.
They brought Daniel Danker from the former EVP from as EVP of AI acceleration. He's former Instacart.
Yep.
And they have an EVP of AI platforms that's going to look at execution, which again is an interesting. I'll be very interested to see how that comes together. Now, I don't think that obviously you're not a Walmart, you're not a monster in the retail space. You probably won't need an EVP or an entire team to it, but you got to think about how those responsibilities will fall out into your, how will those chips fall into your leadership teams? I think that the most interesting stats that I got so far, they have very early operational impact on productivity. So these AI tools are being used across almost 1 million associates, 900,000 associates, about 3 million questions, queries a week
Yeah.
we're handling already, and the
Yep.
support resolution improved by up to 40% already. Shift planning time dropped from 90 to 30 minutes.
Totally.
And the production timelines on the fashion line dropped by 18 weeks.
Yep.
Now again, for folks that are not in these industries, I can go on and explain what this means. But for folks in the industry, I have to explain nothing because they get what I'm saying, that these are unseen developments and unseen types of numbers. And again, these are super simple concepts, right? Because again, this is not about, we've said this before, we'll say it again. If someone's telling you complexity on this, if someone's telling you, jargon, this is as simple as it gets when you're talking about Walmart, when you're talking about what they're doing right now with these agents. And at the same time, what's not simple is how well this is being orchestrated.
Yeah.
And how well this is being put together. I guarantee they have a phenomenal system of feedback that's built into this. And I think that there are a few key points that I just want to say. So you have the first one, which is the operational edge they get through the consolidation, right? So you have these 4 vertical facing agents. It's not just simplifying the UX, it's consolidating decision authority and flow.
Yep.
So 1. 2, you have focus over the fragmentation. So they are each orchestrating multiple sub-agents. So what you're referring to 2 episodes ago and last time we were talking about multiple sub-agents, this is far richer and far stronger than just a dozen of niche bots that are operating in your, so, and then it's a very intentional infrastructure. I love the word intentional. It's way overused by consultants out there, but it's true. This is not just a platform play, right? They're building governance. They built a interagent communication and architecture from day one using open standards like MCP. And then last is the main piece for everyone. The payoff is super clear. Again, 40% faster support, 60 minutes shift planning cut out to 30. And this is not, these are scale improvements. They're not just pilot hype.
100%. Yeah, I'm going to jump all over that. I love everything you said, and there's a couple of things I'm going to just add to build on to what you said. So, and forgive me because this is on my short list of stuff to read in much more depth this week. So I'll just have a couple highlights, but in the future more. But number one, I understand that Instacart leader has a product leadership background, software product, design development leadership, which is different than an engineering background, different than even an operational background, and that leader reports directly to Doug McMillan, the CEO. The reason why I think that's so important is it doesn't surprise me that the CEO of the company has taken such a hands-on approach, and therefore the results are what we see. You can point to Jamie Dimon and the closeness that he has with all of the AI infrastructure that they've been putting in place for 10 plus years. They're by far one of the leaders, if not the biggest leader in the financial services space when it comes to tangible results by investing properly in AI infrastructure and data stuff. The second one is shout out to Mike Forrester, who is the VP of AI at Yum Brands, who a couple months ago out at Snowflake Summit, I listened to him walk through what they did, which is they locked the doors and took the top 400 executives, CEO, CFO, et cetera, articulated a custom and bespoke AI curriculum. And for 7 to 10 days, that's all these folks were doing, CEO, CFO, et cetera, to really flip that switch. And then the other thing you said, Tati, too, that I think is really important, and this kind of cuts both ways, is that when you describe the value they're creating, they meaning Walmart, it does sound simple, because I think it is simple to understand. Here are these complex, mission critical business outcomes that drive our business, the 3, the 4, the 5 of them. And then having the right operating model and the right people and technology, et cetera, that come together, people, process, technology, to actually get the results and feed into that 3% or 1% or what have you. And I think that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's why I think this example with Walmart is so impressive and something I want to dig into deeper.
I 100% agree, and I would say that the thing that, and we've talked about this so many times, is around the process intelligence, right?
Yes.
And why does it matter? Like what, we're talking here about various things that others are doing, but the essence is that it can apply in the same way to any company. So a few things are true for most companies. Well, a few things are true for most companies right now, right? That most of them are flying blind, like we said. The AI adoption is moving ahead, but without a clear strategy and a map of how this gets done, is supposed to get done, it would just be noise. It would just be chaotic. Again, back to 3 episodes ago, we're talking about McKinsey report and Gartner saying that 1% of agents are real. Everything else is hype. The process intelligence is what gives you that map. And process mining and understanding what that is. The second thing is that every company, and that's the piece that operators understand really well. Every company, every organization has shadow processes.
Yes.
What does that mean? It means that what's in your SOP is not what's happening in reality 100%. It could be 20%, it could be 80%. I guarantee you it's not 100%. And that's even if you have SOPs for everything, which the reality is that a lot of companies do not have SOPs for everything, or they're really dusty, in a binder somewhere.
Literally, that's true.
Literally. So process intelligence through something like Salon is what reviews your real flows, what's
That's right.
really happening, not what is written on the sheet. Across the systems, across people, across silos, with your product, etc. And then it's a tagline of my consulting, but before you scale, you need the truth. You do. You need to understand the LLMs are powerful. All of this is really powerful, but garbage in, garbage out. So it's still true, still holds true. So the process mining, it will look at friction, it will look at root causes, it will look at inconsistencies, it will uncover these things. Yeah. You don't need to know anything about it. It will uncover all of this, even if you know, because again, you won't know everything about it. And so they uncover all this before they automate it, before they amplify, before you go, oh wow, we didn't really get any results from this. No kidding, you won't. Yeah. So just to tie this all together for what you're saying before, I think that one of the ways I'm personally looking at companies that are taking the right steps right now is how is their leadership team moving towards it.
Yeah.
It takes a ton of courage to move right now because some of this, because it's unknown, some of this may or may not be the right path. Good news is if you're well advised, you'll be able to move fast from taking the wrong path, from doing the thing that is not. But it just takes a lot of courage. It just takes a lot of involvement, and you can't do it alone. So when I look at that to me is a bit of a thermometer right now of who's going to win, is how involved their top leadership team is and how courageous they are in moving these things forward, which that managerial courage is a core leadership trait of successful leaders and successful organizations. So not to go back to, leadership 101, but that's the type of thing I see when I see what you just described with all the C-level in a room for 7 to 10 days, looking at something, understanding, learning, arguing, discussing, that type of commitment. Did they come out as experts? Absolutely not. And again, if anyone tells you they're an AI expert, run. They're not. So, that's to me, that's the real that becomes almost like a way. If I'm analyzing how well a company's gonna do, I'm analyzing how involved and how committed and how courageous their leadership team is.
Yeah, I love everything you just said, and I'm gonna jump all over one thing that you mentioned there at the end, towards the end, is Celonis and process intelligence, right? So if you have the courage at the top of the food chain, right, the leadership, if you introduce, it doesn't have to be Celonis, right? It's process intelligence. But let me just explain, just because I can geek out on this stuff and get way too technical, but I'm going to do this in a different way because I think some of the folks that watch this clearly are not engineers. All process intelligence is any time a human being interacts with a digital application there is a event log or digital data exhaust that's like Alec logged into this, he clicked on that, then he clicked on this, then he clicked on that. Then Alec went over here and he did the same thing and so on and so forth. And all process intelligence in a very abstract, oversimplified way is imagine if you took the behavior of 2.1 million Walmart employees across the 476, I made that number up, business applications that they have access to use to do their jobs. And then you elevate the aggregate data logs, meaning all the behavior and so on and so forth, and you associate that directly with their job descriptions, their goals, their workflows, their collaboration, etc. And you now have a model data set that tells you, to your point, Tati, not just what's in some binder on a shelf or what someone says in a meeting is actually happening, but the hard reality in data and the insights, which is a process intelligence graph, a digital twin of the way that your business actually operates at the process level. And if you have the courage to pull that out, you can then have a business truth that's rather objective. And then you can step into achieving, I think, what the 1 to 3% of these companies are achieving, including Walmart and Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan Chase and others. And I think it all comes down to your point, I think a lot of it is just the leadership, the courage, and what single source of truth or data sets or insights or knowledge graph or digital twin of their process intelligence, a la what a Celonis can do for you, and then how they plug that into modular dimensions of data and tech infrastructure to unleash the potential of enterprise AI. And so it's not surprising that it sounds simple, what Walmart's achieving, and I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that lots of other companies could do the same thing if they had this wonderful leadership meets technical meets process orientation, because clearly they're doing something really, really right over there.
Can I say something controversial?
Yes. Here we go.
That part of why
you're wrong, Alec. That would be awesome.
Part of why this is so scary. Part of why this is so scary is precisely because what we just discussed, right? And the point I made earlier on operations will have, and something you just said around what's being, is not the SOP, is not what's in the shelf, and is also one that's not been presented at the meeting.
Yep.
Because it has been presented at the meeting at some point, whether it's to the CEO, to the C-suite, to the board, to all of the above. Right? So part of the fear, I think, on process intelligence and process mining is because it will pull the curtain.
Objective truth.
You get the truth. A lot of times, as much as we can have a whole philosophical conversation about how many folks out there are not really looking for the truth. They're looking for the truth that fits the narrative that they've built. Yes. So this message is specifically for those courageous leaders that are really looking for the truth. They're looking for that improvement. They are looking to find the right hooks that will really pull that cart further. This is it's not, yes, we're going to find those flaws. Yes, process mining is going to find some painful places where things weren't working. But the way I look at this as an operator is that's not what I focus on. I focus on the amazing moment in which I can solve them.
You can get better, right?
And if you have the right partner, you can solve them in a way where nobody needs to go with a presentation that says, hey, remember how we told you that this was happening? This is not happening. That's not how that works either. There's a way to do this in which you make the changes that you need to make, and what you're going to present next is the deck that shows all of the improvements.
That's it. The results.
It's the results. It's the I'll argue that 100% of the companies I've ever interacted with, and I would say that's pretty close to that out there, what matters at the end is the result, is how that fear on, oh wow, we're going to uncover those data silos. We're going to uncover that our processes are not great. We're going to uncover that our people are not as productive. If you have good, and I'm looking here in the eyes of those CEOs and CFOs, if you know what if you're connected to your operation, that's already happening. That's why you're there. And
Facts.
well, you got to get that done. I think that my very last point on that is stop asking, where can I add AI? Where can we add AI? Ask, what becomes possible when intelligence lives inside my processes?
Big things for sure. I'm with that. I love the you're nailing the headlines today. By the way, we're gonna upside down birthday cake that, right. It's like put that right on the top. But yes, 100%. This is why, data modeling. This is my Nerdville world of all worlds. It all powers the intelligence, to your point, that enhances the ability to create outcomes that are substantial and previously unimaginable with all the stuff we got available. So we'll leave it at that. That's a good one. Thank you as always, Tati, and more to come on the Walmart stuff as we dig into it. See ya.
Yeah.